I'm Brett Willis. At 29, I faced a significant challenge, a cheating spouse. But let's backtrack a bit. Firstly, a disclaimer, I've never excelled in English, literature, or social sciences. I'm more inclined towards math, economics, and business. So, don't expect flowery language or elaborate descriptions from me. I'm a just the facts, ma'am kind of person. In addition to the above, I believe it's essential to present my strengths and weaknesses candidly, without false modesty or sugarcoating. On the positive side, I'm attractive, successful in business, trustworthy, and treat everyone with respect. I've always been honest and strive to prioritize my partner's satisfaction and intimacy. However, I'm not for everyone. While most partners have appreciated my gentle approach, one person desired a rougher encounter, which I couldn't provide. Also, it seems I have a knack for winning over parents. I've been well received by the parents of every woman I've dated. Sometimes, I wonder if the mothers like me more than their daughters did. On the flip side, I lack athletic prowess and am not particularly perceptive. I'm sensitive to negative comments or actions, and my emotions are often evident. Despite average physical abilities, I avoid physical confrontation and am not assertive in most areas of life, except for business. However, if someone wrongs me and there's no physical threat, I have a vindictive streak and seek revenge. Now, onto the main characters in this story, Melissa Thompson and Doreen Bronson. I'll spare you the details of our past interactions, as they're irrelevant to the story and would likely bore you. I dated Melissa during my junior year of college, but we split before summer. It was tough, but not devastating, as it was a mutual decision. She was less inclined towards commitment, and that was clear from the start. I met Doreen during the following summer after junior year. We all attended different high schools in the same city and ended up at the same state university. I dated Doreen exclusively until halfway through my senior year when Melissa reappeared. I was upfront with both about dating them simultaneously until they both issued ultimatums before graduation. It was a tough decision. Both Melissa and Doreen were attractive and charming, but Melissa edged slightly ahead in looks. Both seemed genuinely in love with me, though Doreen may have been a bit more expressive about it. They were both intelligent and came from respectable families, albeit with varying financial backgrounds. Melissa's family was affluent, while Doreen's was upper middle class. Sexually, both experiences were fulfilling, with Melissa perhaps providing a slightly more satisfying encounter for me, although it seemed Doreen rated our intimacy higher on her scale. While Doreen was always open and honest, Melissa was less forthcoming, though I never caught her in any significant falsehood. In the end, I chose Melissa. Doreen was deeply hurt and opted not to attend our graduation ceremony. I heard she moved away shortly after. I met with Doreen's parents, Tom and Lydia Bronson, to explain my decision, as we had a good rapport. They understood my feelings for Doreen and accepted the situation amicably. Melissa and I tied the knot 6 months after graduation and settled in our hometown, thanks to a condo gifted by our parents, Jack and Carolyn Thompson. Melissa's parents took a shine to me, especially her mother Carolyn, who often praised me in front of her friends. Jack, impressed by my business skills, offered me a position in one of his companies, but I declined, preferring to build my career independently. After 2 years of marriage, Jack entrusted me with power of attorney over Melissa's substantial trust fund, valued at around $15 million. While Melissa lacked financial savvy, I managed her assets diligently, except for a portion tied up in Jack's company, which had restrictions on access until Melissa turned 32. Marriage revealed some aspects of Melissa's personality that I hadn't noticed during our courtship, primarily her materialistic tendencies and strong desire for social status within our affluent community. Despite these revelations, I found happiness in our relationship. Melissa stood by me during difficult times, including the tragic loss of my parents in a car accident 3 years into our marriage. After settling my parents' estate and dealing with taxes and expenses, I stashed the remaining money in an offshore account, a fact I never shared with Melissa. It wasn't necessary for our lifestyle, but it amounted to a significant sum, around $1 million. I intended to disclose this to her, but never found the right moment, perhaps subconsciously avoiding it for reasons unknown. When Melissa and I both turned 29, we decided to stop birth control and start a family, a plan we'd always agreed upon since our engagement. Despite my usual lack of perceptiveness, I noticed a change in her libido once she stopped taking the pill. While our sexual frequency was already satisfactory, it increased to 5 or 6 times a week, with Melissa becoming more sexually assertive. However, despite our efforts, Melissa didn't become pregnant immediately. We anticipated it might take some time, so we weren't overly concerned. As I mentioned earlier, I had good relationships with the employees at the country club we frequented. Although I wasn't much of a golfer or tennis player due to my coordination, I enjoyed socializing and relaxing there. Some employees even trusted me enough to seek advice on business matters, particularly Jasper, the captain of waiters at the golf grill. One Saturday at the club, Melissa went for her golf lesson while I planned to relax by the pool after a stressful week at work. Engaging in conversation delayed me, and as I headed towards the locker room, Jasper approached me looking concerned. "Brent," he said, using my preferred first name, "could I have a word with you?" "Of course," I replied, expecting a financial matter. Jasper led me to a private area, visibly upset. When I asked what was wrong, he hesitated before blurting out the shocking news. "I hate to say this, Brent, but your wife is cheating on you, right now." I was taken aback. "What?" I exclaimed. "I've suspected it for a while, but I saw it with my own eyes today. She's with Jeremy, the assistant golf pro, in massage room A. The door lock is broken, and they're unaware. I accidentally walked in and saw them, but they didn't see me. You should check it out." I felt the blood drain from my face, and I nearly collapsed, grasping onto a chair for support. Confrontation was not my forte, but I needed to confirm what Jasper had told me. Hurriedly, I made my way to massage room A, where a "Do Not Disturb" sign hung on the door. I cautiously pushed it open, finding the lock broken as Jasper had described. Inside, I saw Melissa on the massage table, Jeremy's condom-clad penis thrusting into her as she urged him on. The scene blurred before my eyes as I closed the door. Collapsing to the floor outside the room, my mind reeled with devastation. I knew I had to leave. Passing Jasper on my way out, I managed to choke out a request for confidentiality amidst the turmoil of emotions. In a haze, I drove until I stumbled upon a bar in a familiar suburb, not far from where Doreen's parents lived. I rarely indulged in alcohol, but that night I drowned my sorrows, losing track of time and reason. As darkness enveloped me, I concocted a reckless plan to end my life. The next thing I knew, I awoke in a strange room, dressed in the same clothes from the night before. My head throbbed, but the emotional turmoil outweighed any physical discomfort. I exited the room slowly, making my way to a nearby bathroom. Staring into the mirror, I looked as rough as I felt, sporting a sizable bump and scrape on my head. Though the second-floor hallway seemed familiar, I couldn't quite place it. Sounds of activity from downstairs drew me down to the kitchen, where I was startled to find Doreen's parents, Tom and Lydia Bronson. "Brent, good to see you up and about," Tom greeted, peering over his reading glasses. "Sit down, Brent. Breakfast will be ready soon," Lydia added cheerfully from the stove. "Tom, Lydia, I have no idea how I got here," I confessed, sinking into a chair. Taking a seat beside me, Tom proceeded to recount the events of the previous night, occasionally supplemented by Lydia. They had encountered me after I fell and hit my head while they were on their way to meet friends. Concerned, they had taken me back to their house, canceling their dinner plans to care for me. "I'm incredibly grateful for your help, especially considering the circumstances," I expressed my gratitude. Lydia set a plate of pancakes in front of me, urging me to eat. As I dug in, I asked about my ex, Doreen, learning she had remarried and returned to the area as a successful entrepreneur. "Is she still as stunning as she was in college?" I inquired wistfully. "You'll find out soon enough. She'll be here shortly," Tom replied. "What? She can't see me like this," I protested. "She won't mind," Lydia reassured. "In fact, she's eager to see you, especially after hearing what you said last night." After breakfast, we moved to the living room, where I sheepishly asked about my drunken ramblings from the night before. "There's no need to dwell on everything," Tom began cautiously. But to summarize, you discovered Melissa's infidelity, realized starting a family was impossible, drowned your sorrows in hard liquor, and contemplated ending your life. That about covers it, Lydia? Lydia nodded, wearing a bemused expression. I covered my face with my hands, overwhelmed by emotion. I'm truly sorry for burdening you with my problems, I said, tears welling up. I don't know what to do. Last night, I would have. My voice broke as I struggled to articulate my thoughts. You've always been sensitive, Brent, Lydia said gently, offering her support as she took my hand. After a few moments of general conversation, the front door opened and Doreen walked in. Despite the passage of 8 years, she looked nearly the same, if not better, with just a hint of blonde in her hair. I braced myself for a reaction, but to my surprise, she greeted me warmly. Hi, Brent, she chirped, her cheerful tone easing the tension. You look terrible, but I still need a hug. She reached out, pulling me into a tight embrace. Overwhelmed, I couldn't help but break down in tears. Lydia intervened with a suggestion. I think you two have some catching up to do. Tom and I are off to the mall. We'll be back in 2 hours, Lydia announced, giving my shoulder a reassuring squeeze. As soon as they left, Doreen wasted no time getting to the heart of the matter. Brent, we've always been honest with each other. Is there any reason that should change now? Meeting her gaze, I hesitated before admitting, no. I need a friend, someone I can be open with. Good, she said, a grin spreading across her face. Let's start with the truth. My marriage ended because of infidelity. But there's something you should know. I've always loved you. I was stunned, unable to respond for a moment. Doreen broke the silence with a hint of amusement. Surprised, she asked, her smile crooked. Definitely, I chuckled nervously. Seems like I made the wrong choice 8 years ago. That's the spirit. Now, let's figure this out, Doreen said eagerly, leading the way to the kitchen where we could talk freely and plan our next steps. It seemed I had been quite candid in my drunken state the previous night, as Doreen appeared well informed about my situation. I clarified a few points, emphasizing my desire for revenge against Melissa and my determination to leave her for good. By the time Tom and Lydia returned, 2 hours and 2 pots of coffee later, Doreen and I had outlined a plan. We each had our tasks and agreed to meet regularly to assess progress and adjust our approach. We decided to confide in only a few people, namely Tom, Lydia, and perhaps Jasper. They were trustworthy and eager to assist. Our immediate challenge was explaining my absence to Melissa, which we believed was manageable given my disheveled appearance from the night before. Doreen drove me to retrieve my car, where I found my cell phone. Jasper had left a message explaining my absence to Melissa, which she seemed to accept. I called Melissa, fabricating a story about being mugged and taken to a clinic, calming her frantic concerns before ending the call abruptly. Doreen and I shared a kiss, not overly passionate, but not merely platonic either. I need to stay true to Melissa until our plan unfolds, I told Doreen. That doesn't surprise me, Doreen replied with a grin. But once it does, I'll make sure to satisfy you completely, she chuckled. Oh, the burden I carry, I joked in response. My main concern is your ability to act normal around Melissa without raising suspicion, Doreen expressed. I share that concern, especially given my emotional nature. But knowing there's a reward at the end of this ordeal gives me the courage to manage it. I'll find a way, I assured her, determination evident in my expression. Doreen smiled, and we shared one more brief kiss before I left. My first stop was the pharmacy for Plan B pills and a burner phone, then home. Melissa and her parents were deeply worried when I arrived. My appearance, coupled with the head injury, made my mugging story believable. I decided to claim my wallet was stolen, explaining the need for new credit cards and a driver's license. Having Melissa's parents there was a saving grace. Their presence helped me control my anger towards Melissa, who surprisingly appeared genuinely concerned despite her actions the previous day. We spent the evening together, and after a shower and dinner, exhaustion took over, and we fell asleep. Over the next 3 weeks, Doreen and I executed our plan meticulously. Doreen's dedication impressed me, reigniting my feelings for her. I couldn't help but compare her to Melissa and realize my mistake in choosing Melissa over her. Doreen's competence, efficiency, and devotion were undeniable, and my admiration for her grew with each passing day. There was a lot to manage, and the situation was complicated. Despite my difficulty interacting with Melissa, I had to stick to the plan despite numerous setbacks. To avoid suspicion and cater to her increased libido, I engaged in intimacy with Melissa 8 times. Each time, I imagined she was Doreen. The morning after, I discreetly added a Plan B pill to her breakfast, ensuring she consumed it before I left for work. I couldn't fathom having a child with her. Ironically, 3 Saturdays after discovering Melissa's infidelity, I hoped she would cheat again. It was crucial for my plan to unfold. Using the burner phone I purchased along with the Plan B pills, I confirmed with Doreen that everything was proceeding as planned. I shared a final kiss with Melissa as we parted ways on Saturday morning at the country club, she for a golf lesson and me for a swim. After securing Jasper's vow of silence and compensating him, I removed the Do Not Disturb sign from massage room A and ensured Melissa and Jeremy were inside. With the help of the club staff, I orchestrated a scene that exposed their affair. As expected, chaos ensued when the door was opened, revealing Melissa and Jeremy. I feigned distress, running away while internally grappling with the situation. I drove home, leaving a note and my wedding ring on the kitchen table. I abandoned my regular cell phone and disabled the tracking devices on my car and laptop weeks earlier. Packed with only essentials and sentimental items, I left, ready to start anew. My note was brief yet poignant. I loved you more than life itself. I can't live with your betrayal. God save my soul. Melissa somehow made it home before I could leave. Though I would have preferred to avoid her, her presence inadvertently played into my need for revenge. She was genuinely frantic, grasping at me while I kept my distance, avoiding eye contact. Amidst her panicked tirade, she pleaded with excuses and apologies, mentioning the effects of going off the pill, her altered hormones, and her desire for a baby, even invoking her parents' opinions. In response, my only emotional reply was to her last question, "Tell them that you killed our love, and me." With tears in my eyes, I pushed her away and fled. Part of my revenge required action on Monday to ensure its completion, as most institutions don't confirm money transfers reliably over weekends. Doreen and I spent Saturday and Sunday nights in a hotel room she rented, but we refrained from intimacy, saving it for the culmination of our plan. On Monday, I altered my appearance significantly with Doreen's help: shorter dyed blonde hair, colored contacts, fake mustache, and different clothing. We meticulously went over our plans, then I executed electronic transfers totaling approximately $12 million from Melissa's trust fund to charities we selected. However, when we reached my car to enact the final part of our plan, we encountered an unexpected obstacle. My father-in-law had law enforcement searching for my car. With Doreen's quick thinking, she created a diversion by alerting a nearby officer about a supposed armed individual in the hotel lobby. The police officer quickly responded to Doreen's diversion and raced towards the hotel. Seizing the opportunity, I dashed to my car with Doreen, and we sped off to the remote coastal mountain road where I had prepared for my staged suicide. En route to the predetermined location, I initiated a sequence of emails from my laptop, carefully crafted by Doreen over the past 3 weeks. These emails, sent at intervals, expressed my anguish and explained my decision to end my life due to my wife's infidelity. Doreen's writing skillfully captured my sentiments, ensuring the messages resonated authentically with my voice. The email to my father-in-law, Jack, was particularly heartfelt, apologizing for betraying his trust by depleting Melissa's trust fund and expressing hope for his forgiveness. The chosen suicide spot was strategically selected, offering a dramatic cliff drop into the tumultuous ocean below. I had sabotaged the guardrail with acid and disguised the damage to appear natural. Additionally, my car was rigged to accelerate and trigger a small explosion upon impact, ensuring its destruction. Parking our cars nearby, Doreen and I surveyed the area to ensure no witnesses were present. I positioned my car facing the weakened section of the guardrail and activated the remote control, propelling the vehicle forward. With just enough force, my car broke through the rail and plummeted into the ocean below. Prior preparations included disabling the driver's side airbag, marking the steering wheel with my blood and tissue, and ensuring the wallet was loose in the car for potential retrieval by divers. With the car windows open and the seatbelt unattached, the scene was set to stage my disappearance. Upon witnessing my car plunge into the water, Doreen and I wasted no time. We swiftly drove away, covering 400 miles that day and another 400 the next, using cash for all expenses. Arriving at an initial destination city, Doreen had arranged for me to obtain a document to kickstart my new identity. Spending the first 2 days and 3 nights in our hotel room, we indulged in passionate intimacy unlike anything I had experienced before. Despite expecting my ordeal with Melissa to dampen my sexual drive, it had the opposite effect, fueled by Doreen's unwavering devotion and irresistible allure. Doreen had grown even more attractive over the years, and her newfound passion intensified our encounters. We explored a range of experiences, from tender lovemaking to intense, passionate sex, pushing the limits of physical pleasure. After days of relentless intimacy, we were left sore and spent, barely able to move without discomfort. Before our departure, Doreen secured a certified copy of a birth certificate for Alex Simmons, a deceased child born around the same time as me. In our initial destination city, we acquired a counterfeit Australian passport for Alex, meticulously crafted by a skilled forger. The passport, complete with fabricated travel stamps and a weathered appearance, supported my fabricated backstory of an American relocating from Australia. With my new identity documents, we traveled leisurely to our final destination city on the opposite coast, engaging in intimate encounters in every state along the way. Upon arrival, we rented an apartment and finalized plans for our fresh start together. Transferring inherited funds from an offshore account into one under the name of Alex Simmons, I navigated the process of establishing a new identity in the U.S. Within 6 weeks, I obtained a driver's license, credit cards, and other necessary identification. By 6 months, Alex Simmons possessed a legitimate U.S. passport, marking the completion of our meticulously planned escape and new beginning. During our escape journey, Doreen and I kept in touch with her parents and monitored online news regarding Brent Willis. The situation looked bleak for Melissa. Within a week of my staged suicide, my car was recovered from the ocean, my wallet was found by divers, and authorities launched extensive investigations into my disappearance. Despite having withdrawn $30,000 in cash in the weeks leading up to my supposed demise, all transactions appeared legitimate, and my financial accounts remained dormant, leading to the assumption of my death. Confirmation of my death came through scientific analysis of my vehicle, which revealed traces of my blood and tissue on the steering wheel. Coupled with my deliberately disabled airbag and suicide note, the public quickly accepted the narrative of my suicide. Public outrage against Melissa and Jeremy was severe. Jeremy lost his job and faced professional ruin, while Melissa became a social outcast, even being expelled from the country club. Despite attempts by reporters to interview her, she remained secluded in our former condo. Unfortunately, my plan's execution took a toll on Melissa's parents, Jack and Carolyn, who had treated me like a son. Jack's heartfelt statement in the city's newspaper moved me to tears, expressing their grief over their lost son. Shortly after, Tom and Lydia informed us of a memorial service organized by Jack and Carolyn. Although it was premature for a legal declaration of my death, everyone believed I had taken my own life. Doreen decided to attend the service, flying back from our new city to our hometown. When Doreen returned from the memorial service, I could sense that she was withholding something from me about the ceremony. Despite her attempts to brush it off, I persisted until she tearfully confided in me about how dreadful it had been. Strangers whom I barely recognized showed an unexpected depth of care and solemnity. Jack struggled through his eulogy, breaking down several times before his brother had to step in. Carolyn appeared worn out and quietly wept throughout the service. Melissa was notably absent, reportedly undergoing treatment at a mental health facility. Surprisingly, Melissa's family not only chose not to pursue the $10 million I had donated from her trust fund, but also contributed an additional $2 million to charity in my honor. For years have passed since my memorial service, and I was legally declared dead 2 years afterward. Doreen and I tied the knot immediately after Brent Willis was declared dead, now going by Mr. and Mrs. Simmons. By the time of our marriage, we already had a daughter, and we are now expecting a son. Financially, Doreen and I are secure. Alongside my inheritance, we have funds from Doreen's business sale to her employees and our salaries from the charity we work for. Since receiving the $2 million donation, the charity has expanded enough to employ Doreen as the operations director and me as the financial director and investment counselor. Through our work, we've been able to assist numerous underprivileged families and find fulfillment in our efforts, expanding our outreach annually. Tom retired, and he and Lydia moved closer to us, just 15 miles away, to be near their granddaughter and soon-to-be grandson. I love Doreen more than I ever loved Melissa, and she reciprocates that love more deeply than Melissa ever did. I can't help but feel guilty for not choosing her after college and avoiding the entire ordeal with Melissa and her family. I've stopped searching for news about Melissa, Jack, and Carolyn. It only adds to my guilt, and the last I heard, Jack and Carolyn had established a scholarship in my name at our alma mater, while Melissa had left the mental health institution after 6 months of treatment and relocated. Doreen and I couldn't be happier together, except for one lingering regret, the success of my revenge. We now realize that neither guilty Melissa nor innocent Jack and Carolyn deserved the consequences of our actions. I wish I had the courage to confront Melissa and seek a divorce instead. The what-ifs weigh heavily on me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel not to miss new videos.